Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Update video. So, it's been a while. Seems like a while. It's only a week, but yeah, so the Brozo dumped, and I mean dumped, a bunch of crap videos. And like usual, they don't do anything like what he claims. So they're all titled proof of and debunk and all this kind of crap, and there's nothing like that in the videos. So, and the flaws are just egregious. So the first dumped video, well, I guess I talked about something. There was this video on Brozo's, the Mickey Mouse Club. Yeah, so the comments are full of, these two characters, really, just two main ones, Jim or something, and Mike, something like that. Anyway, and they just constantly lie. And they all think it's funny, that they just constantly lie about what I said in the video, all this stuff. And so, I don't know what you do about that, right? Is there any point in responding to just constant and forever lies? Because they obviously have no credibility. Nothing they promise to be a truth is actually the truth. So the one guy's quite obviously a free energy nut. Okay, so I played the video of the nut, that the nut thinks is credible physics. And, it's I'm just saying, it's flat Earth. So this is Brozo's comrades, are people advocating for things Brozo would no way say, oh yeah, that's reasonable. So, the hypocrisy is, it's all over the place. All right. So anyway, I did that video. Then after that video is when he dumped, pooed these new experiment videos, and some of them are old clips. It's all remanufactured and edited to pieces and all that kind of crap. The usual techniques of the Brozo. And so there's only a little tiny bit of the actual experiment, and the rest of the video is his bullshit that he throws in. And at least there's no music, but it's pretty hard to watch, frankly. Because there's so little physics in it. The rest of it's just garbage. So he does this air track experiment, and on the surface it looks fairly good. Again, the frame rate is just awful, though. So it looks like you might be able to see something, but when you try to do frame by frame, they're all variable-sized frames, and they're blurry and they suck. So it's not very useful. And then there was an obvious flaw where when he actually lets go of a cart and it starts to move, it starts moving with a very substantial acceleration, indicating the track is actually not even level. Which in this case would be kind of critical to an argument about free energy. So this is like the guy with the generator, or the batteries inside his free energy device, It might as well be just as much of a ripoff. And he claims he's doing the world some great favor by showing them the truth, and obviously it's a truth with all kinds of crud smeared on it. Could be poo. A lot of the colors that he has smeared on everything looks a little pooey, frankly. It's kind of scary. And he does have a fascination with anuses. He tells whole stories about, well, we'll get to some stories later, maybe. Anyway, all right, so then I did a video on the comments on the experiment, just because the comments didn't acknowledge any of the truth, that the frame rate sucks, and that it has obvious defects in the sense that he can't let go of a cart without it going somewhere, which is a demonstration of a problem if you're doing air track experiments. You want to fix that. Yeah. All right. And then so I point out. So then he does. Then he has another video where he's doing pool balls. And he saws one in half and is shooting them, and again making the argument that he's proving, that the twice as light object will not go twice as fast with the same force applied. And again, if you don't believe that, then you have to explain an awful lot in the universe because you're saying that springs don't conserve energy, which doesn't make any sense, frankly. Again, they can't diagram. I mean, I've pointed out what the free energy device would look like based on their theory. And they haven't even come close to explaining how the device won't work. Like, where's the flaw in the logic? You know, you just bang the one mass object and the two mass object, you gain your 33% energy, and you just keep doing that. Or how you could do the same thing with just using a lever, because a lever will create many times more energy. But anyway, they haven't explained how that isn't free energy, that free momentum is free energy. So there's no theoretical explanation how this could ever be resolved with reality. The implications are catastrophic to logic, but they won't provide a single explanation. All right, nothing. There's no response to anything. Anything I say in these videos, they will never respond to any of the points made. They'll just continue to keep lying. So anyway, that's what these videos are basically intended to do, is counter their lies. All right, so I point out what I see as flaws in Brozo's experiment, in the sense that we don't get to see how he's launching the pool balls. And so it's a pretty useless value in terms of an experiment. You're just magically shooting them and then telling us what we have to believe about how much energy you got into them in what way. So he has since conceded that he has found that his launching method was flawed, that he had moving parts in the launcher that had mass and, you know, different arguments. Again, even, you know, he finally did the air track experiment, you know, where you shoot two carts into a spring and just see how much they compress the spring. Both sides of it, right? So the one side is the same compression and you shoot the two carts, and then he did the same experiment collecting the energy. And he got completely contrary results. So it can't possibly, one side of the experiment has to, at least one side has to be broken, because he proved two different theories, two conflicting. He got a 7, and then he says the answer is 2. The answer can't be 7 and 2. It's not theoretically possible for different amounts of momentum to move things and then the same amount of momentum to be received. It just doesn't make any sense. It's impossible, frankly. It's logically impossible. And the same is true for his, like I said, when he's rolling objects, you know, he takes no account for what the implications are of what he's arguing, which is that somehow kinetic energy is what springs collect, and there's just no evidence that that's what they're collecting. They're just collecting a weight, a pressure, a mass, and a velocity. You know. But anyway, all right, so then I had intended to do the Kathy Loves History video, because they had mentioned it as being some beautiful piece of science, and I remember it to be a big pile of crap. So I played the video and pointed out all the crap in it. Okay, that it's crap physics, it's crap history, it cheats the truth all over the place. All right. Then Brozo trips on his own clown shoe. So this was because now he posted an even older video, you know, one of the ones he said he had maybe a month ago. And he finally posted it, and you see why he didn't post it is because it was so stupid, in the sense that the results were completely conflicting and just demonstrated that he's a terrible experimentalist. So in one of his videos, he actually talks about how great it is that he, as an amateur, can do these sciences and, you know, these experiments, and he doesn't need a lab coat, and he doesn't need a laboratory, and any jackass can do these experiments. And then he gives a perfect, brilliantly shiny piece of evidence of why that doesn't work, why amateurs fail dismally, because they don't pay any attention to what they're doing, and they don't even realize. Again, he posted a video that no logical person could think, oh yeah, this will show I'm credible. It shows that everything he's doing is incredible, because the results are so illogical. They can't be reconciled with reality at all. All right, so that's the few videos on those kind of stuff. Brozo giving away great springy irony. think I called him Borzo here, so same difference really. Yeah, Borzo, he is that too. Okay. So then I did a video on the fact that this physics doesn't work. Okay, this whole kinetic energy thing is broken from its origin, and I'm using trebuchets and different examples of why. Come on, let it go already. I mean, it doesn't work. It's not sensible to think levers make energy. They just convert, you know, one kind of pressure into another kind of pressure, right? Into a different torque, a different mass times velocity. And that's all they can do. They can make light things go fast, and they can make heavy things go slow. So you can add more pressure to a heavy thing over a longer period of time, and you can have instantaneously more energy moving something fast and hitting it. And that's what levers allow you to do. But they can't make energy. They can only convert the mass or the velocity. They can make switches. You can switch 5 velocities for 5 masses. But that's it. That's all it can do. And it's so obvious that that's all there is. And as soon as you start squaring velocities or, you know, disproportionately devaluing masses, you completely break any continuity that existed in the universe, because everything that you change in one direction, lowering the mass, increase the velocity, you increase the energy, and then every time you go the other way, you somehow lose energy. You make it disappear, which is creating and destroying, which is something physicists sort of, at least they've stated they actually understand conservation laws, but apparently they don't really pay any attention to them. All right, so that all being said, maybe we'll just read some, since it's all about Brozo this week, we'll just finish off, and, you know, I'll restrain myself from reading any further comments or any other crap, and see if they can actually make an argument debunking the lever argument, or debunking the perpetual motion machine, or in some way accounting for the implications of the theory they're defending, which they never ever do. They just lie and oblige me, okay, to waste my time countering completely idiotic statements that have nothing to do with what's in my videos or what I said. It's just lying. Alright, so I'll be back. Alright, we're back. Alright, so this John Walker character, he is compulsively lying. Like every comment, he prefaces things with statements I didn't say, you know, misquotes, perverts. I mean, just constant and forever lying. And it's like, Brozo is saying that's okay. You know, go ahead, play that game. It's okay on his, you know, comment section to propagate a bunch of lies. And they're just lies. Endless stream of lies. Alright. Goofy admits he didn't watch, so that's a lie. I never admitted I didn't watch anything. I watched the new video, the new experiment. I have clips in it from the video. I obviously watched the video. I couldn't possibly have clips of the video in the video. So another lie, right? But he keeps claiming the receiving spring should compress twice the amount after the admitting spring was compressed only 2.5 millimeters more. So it's a lie about what took place in Brozo's experiment, right? I mean, the admitting spring, we don't know how much more it was compressed. There's no idea at all. Brozo just turned it up. Now, it actually had to compress quite a bit more, because if you do the actual math, okay, the admitting spring, okay, it didn't, all right, so the full mass, 2-mass cart, okay, admitted, let's say you had a number like 575, the 1 mass with the same force, okay, was 450, okay. That's well short of half the speed. So, I mean, it's a 0.2 thing, not a 0.4 thing even. So it's only 0.2, okay, more energy. at that slow velocity. It should have been, the number should have been 280 whatever, you know. Half of 75 is, oh yeah, that's the tricky part, right? It's like 37 and a half. Yeah, so then you have to do 74, right? 14, 74, right? So it should have been 274, right? 74. Oh, this isn't showing. My bad. It's a good thing I do remember now and then to look. So I'm getting better at it. At least I look. Come on, off. All right. So, so we're at the launching, 2 mass versus the 1 mass. Okay, and the number was 575 and 450. The lower the number, the faster it's going. So this is only going 0.2 faster than this. Yeah, instead of the 0.4. But regardless. The point is we don't know how much more energy he had to add to get it to this number. So he claims I made more energy in the spring to get it to this half number. So these are actual numbers. This is actually going half the speed here. Okay. It's actual fact. So he's claiming something that's not true. It's not what the video showed. And the 2 millimeter thing is on the receiving end. So we don't know the difference in the shooting end. We know it has to be a lot of extra compression because it was well short of the half speed it was supposed to be going. Yeah, you can see it's only 125, right? You add 125 to 450 and you're at, you know, 575. And 57 would be 1/10. So 2/10 would be 114, so we're pretty close, right? So it's 2.2. All right, instead of the 0.4. But anyway, you know, who wants to argue this crap? His launching method obviously sucks. He has to hold the carts against the spring, so he didn't even create a method. See, the rational, the logical thing you think of is that you can't have your hands involved at all. So he's holding it down until he pushes it against the spring, and he doesn't let go of it until the very instant it releases. So there's a very good chance his finger's still on the cart when he releases the spring, which is a real downside. And there's also a very good chance that his stupid track is not level, and so if he doesn't hold on to it, it starts moving away from the spring, the launcher, and therefore the launcher isn't going to give it as much energy because part of the launching doesn't even get to it. So it's a huge flaw. And what he should have is this thing, this cart tied to the spring, you know, to a mechanism that compresses the spring and then cut the thread and allow the cart to leave. You want a quick release mechanism that ensures that all the energy in the spring gets into the cart. Now, he doesn't do any of this stuff, right? And he complains that somebody like me would point it out to him that, you know, there's a right way to do it and wrong ways to do it. And there's, you know, fewer right ways and there's lots of wrong ways. And so if you're just going to helter-skelter pick a way, that's stupid. You have to try to pick the right one of the right ways and try to avoid doing things the wrong way. But anyway, you can't understand any of that. Waste of time. So there is no knowledge of what the extra was put in. And clearly, as I pointed out, I've dispute his number was 14.5, and it was clearly bullshit. So you can magnify the actual him putting the dirty, filthy ruler on the thing, and you can see that it's closer to 13 than it is 14.5. It's 13.3 or 4, whatever. But that's the closer number, and I would argue the whole way he collected the energy, you can find so many flaws in it. The marker's as big as a millimeter. The whole thing is, you know, not very precise. So it's well within reason. And I'm just saying it's so far from 24 that it's kind of obvious that 13 is a lot closer to 12 than 24. So again, if I was Brozo, I'd make a whole video with flashing lights that go on and off, doing Brozo's prediction way off, Brozo's prediction way off. You know, I'd play little silly childish games, but I'm not a silly little child, so I don't bother with that. But clearly the video was far from debunking, so why did he title it a debunk when he's not debunking anything? And clearly, even more clear, is the fact that I clearly am not an advocate for free energy. I'm making the accusation that your theory creates free energy, and I've provided all kinds of mechanisms through which that free energy could be collected if it existed. And you haven't provided a single counter-argument explaining how that's not true, that I couldn't make the machine that collects the energy. You haven't explained in any way, you haven't detailed a single impediment to the collection of the free energy you're theorizing to exist. You're claiming it to exist. All right. So clearly, once again, proving here that, look, the one-mass cart going twice as fast is the same thing as the two-mass cart going half as fast. That was clearly demonstrated to be pretty damn close to what he got as a result. And yet this comment describes a completely different experiment. All right, so let's continue with the dopey comment. So we'll bring this back and we'll get rid of this, and that should work well enough. All right. The fact is that the receiving spring is compressed the same amount as the admitting spring was compressed. So there's absolutely no evidence of that being true. We don't know how much the admitting spring was compressed. So he's just lying about the experiment, Brozo's own experiment. He's misdescribing it, yet Brozo will do nothing to correct him. Okay, independent of the mass of the cart. So none of this can be independent of the mass of the carts, okay? That's part of the theory. You can't evade mass and velocity being both part of your own equation. 1/2 mv squared has both m and v in it. You can't pretend they don't exist and that they don't matter. That's ridiculous. Okay. No further calculations are needed. So he's saying it doesn't matter how heavy I made the cart or how light I make the other cart, no calculations are needed. When clearly he overtly calculated their velocities. Brozo is overtly telling you they have specific velocities, that the two mass is going twice as slow as the one mass. It's a fact, and you have to account for it in the equation. Anyway, don't let him make you believe you did anything wrong, Stephen. Well, let's say he didn't do anything wrong, then the universe is completely insane because somehow springs produce less energy than they collect, which doesn't make any sense, right? You can't make that argument that they're magical. So what's the theory? How does the spring compression become variable? You know, how does this much compression mean different amounts of energy? It can't mean different amounts. So what are you talking about? That's crazy talk, frankly. And obviously, Stephen knows, okay, frankly, that his result is inconsistent with kinetic energy theory. Clearly, the one mass cart by kinetic energy has twice as much energy and should have compressed the spring twice as much. Stephen knows that. That's the prediction of his own theory. The theory he's defending, that's its prediction. The results aren't consistent with the prediction. He recognizes that's a problem, yet he won't tell this asshole that it's a problem. Okay. And in his other video, he basically admits the results aren't what he expected. That you know, he can't account for them. So he basically concedes, well, maybe the way I did the experiment sucks. Which, again, you shouldn't be saying in a video where you're claiming to debunk somebody. If you're going to debunk somebody and you're going to say right in the video of your debunk, well, maybe the whole thing is bullshit because I don't know what I'm doing. Isn't that horse shit? I mean, is there any, like, do anything but retards do that? I mean, who does that? Who claims something they can't prove? Oh, Brozo. Yeah, sorry. Okay, no sane person believes him. So what's about believing me? It's not about believing me. It's about the truth. What happened in the experiment? So again, I'm being convicted of being dishonest when I'm merely accurately describing the experiment. I mean, what the fuck? Okay. Bully G Strawman is a liar. So I would love the list of these lies. So if you can actually make a list and put it in Brozo's comments section of these lies that are in my videos with time codes, I would really appreciate it. Oh, you don't even have to bother. If you have quotes, okay, actual quotes where I'm lying in a video, All right, and I'll make a web page for them. All right, because it didn't. These lies you're claiming I'm guilty of don't exist. I describe something and I do it as accurately as I possibly can. So there are no lies in my videos. You can't demonstrate lies in my videos. Okay. And he knows it very well. So that's also a lie. I quite obviously will defend myself against any such accusation and require the person making the accusation and inform the person making the accusation that you're guilty of slander. Now maybe you think you're immune to that accusation, that no, never, I'll never have to explain my lies. But I'm going to argue to you, okay, you can believe that, but maybe someday you're going to have to pay for your reckless use of words. I mean, it's obviously more than reckless. I can prove you're quite malicious in your conduct, that you intend to smear my reputation with lies. And that's a crime. You know, just like Brozo's mate who steals cash from the till and is proud of it. And, you know, sticks crap up her ass and vagina and is proud of it. You know, and then puts it back on the shelf. That's a real story. Yeah, I know. I know. Sometimes I mess up and I don't read the words right, but that's actually one of the real stories. That's the kind of people he hangs out with. Amazing. I almost fucked you, a friend. I mean, I almost like, we can't be friends anymore if you don't really understand, because, you know, she was a person who took things back to the store, you know, routinely, and thought it was fun. You know, I wore it for a day and then I took it back. And, you know, I had to explain, you suck, because you make all of us pay more for everything because you like to play this silly little, your important game. Well, fuck you. But this asshole doesn't mind if people piss in his food. Oh, amazing. If he was intelligent or honest, so this is Stephen, I would listen. So, what does that even mean? Do you have, again, all of this horse shit? Listen to what? You already admitted in your video these facts, and somebody is lying about those facts. Right there in your comments section, you're doing nothing. You're saying, go ahead and lie. Oh, yeah, that's right, because it's a convenient lie. You're pretending it really is a credible video that proves Gary wrong when actually it's not a video that does that at all. Okay. But he's neither intelligent nor honest, thank you, John. So he thanks him for lying about his own experiment and what it shows. I mean, again, how low do these people have to go before you admit, oh, that's really too low? Mindless marbles. I mean, do you want to be associated with people who do this shit? This is the best you can do for science? In defense of your great science, this is the best you can do? I mean, pathetic. So then 2, he says, his lies go beyond the average liars. Whatever that could possibly mean again. So let's see the list of these lies. I mean, the only ones Brozo's going to count are the ones where his little feelings were hurt somewhere. And so that's all there is. You know, there's no physics lies. There's just lies about, well, he got all mad at me because I said nice things to Holiday. Well, that wasn't what you did. You didn't say nice things to Holiday. You said shitty things about me, retard. So, I mean, it's his inability to tell a story honestly that's really the problem. Gary's lies remind me of Joey's fake Porsche made out of cardboard boxes and friends. So, again, all of these little personal anecdotes, like we're all supposed to find that so charming. When, oh, puke. I mean, that's how you spent your time. So instead of reading, you know, the Madame Chartelet, for example, the woman he defends, she was a great scientist because everybody says so. Well, instead of actually reading what she wrote, you know, which is a bunch of God-bothering bullshit, he does this shit. You know, and she wrote things, you know, she's quoted as saying things. It's just so funny. She's quoted as saying things like, oh, who cares about nationality? Science should be about the truth. And then right in her own writing, she is, well, Newton has the French. The French gave Newton all of his facts. Without the French, Newton wouldn't have any facts. I mean, you know, it's hilarious. I mean, the duplicity. one should be careful about their own ego, making them believe their results are valid. And it's written all over her own experiments. My experiments are great. She even talks about herself as a third person, right? So she's writing it as if she isn't writing it. So she brings herself up in the narrative. It's just hilarious. But anyway, he is a clown. Well, no, you're the clown, and I've well named you. His whatever stretches credibility beyond breaking point. So this is all, whatever. I mean, you stink like poo, like nothing else. Even poo admires how much like you smell like poo. Oh yeah, I got you there, didn't I? I mean, what a zinger. Only the dimmest of his supporters believe a word he says. And again, it has nothing to do with believing something. It has to do with understanding something. So you just don't get the whole point of the conversation. You have to compete with my description of reality with a counter description. And you don't do any of that. You don't ever provide any context for how what you're saying is the truth could possibly be the truth. Okay. About anything. He believes a word he says about anything. So again, whatever this means. Okay. And so he's calling anybody who thinks these might be open questions, that there hasn't been enough evidence collection in the history of physics, that there are lots of things that can be questioned, from the Big Bang to expansion to entanglement, that all of these things are open questions. Anybody who thinks so, he'll slander with this kind of rhetoric. Okay, he lost the support of Zohar Kohevi. Then why are my videos, the videos he made, still up? I don't know. So, and again, support in what form? So the irony is Zohar's last video, basically describing my theory in photons, was so disconnected from my theory that Brozo had to actually comment to Zohar and tell him how off he was. That Brozar explained to him, look, I'm Gary's adversary, and I know that's not his theory. So he even had to say it. So it's bad enough when I have to fix the lies by my enemies, but when my advocates or non-fall for bullshitters start misparaphrasing me and put words in my mouth that I didn't say or that I don't believe in, that's pretty substantial. And I'm not saying I didn't beat up on Zohar. I just said, no, I don't want to do this. Okay, I don't want to have to explain how wrong what you described is, because, it's just wrong. And I mean, to somebody, again, it's a pretty obvious wrong. It's not like a misunderstanding in some technical detail. I have been pretty explicit for the last 10 years pointing out that forces do not interact with forces and that photons are a force. Photons never bang into photons. It just doesn't happen. And that was part of what he was arguing. So clearly he was doing damage to what I am advocating, not helping. Okay. Who admired him at one time until Gary started his silly campaign to discredit females. So more specifically, I think Zohar left the building when I started arguing about kinetic energy. But whatever. Because I think he's a believer, okay? And I don't think there's any evidence that this has anything to do with me arguing that Deschartelet was not a great scientist. And again, so when he says my intent is to discredit females, and obviously there's nothing in the videos that indicate I'm saying women are not capable of doing science or any of that. I'm saying quite clearly that they're just as capable of doing bad science as men. And it would be absolutely idiotic for me to be hands off because it's a woman. I can't criticize because it's a woman. That would be silly. Insanely silly. All right. So there's absolutely no evidence that I'm on some mission to discredit women. Absolute bullshit. But I'm not going to give them credit where there's none due. So frankly. So yeah, they have been disproportionately unrepresented in all kinds of fields for decades, centuries. But now there's actually more graduates from college that are female than male. So now they're going to have to be the their representation in our in innovation and in creation of new ideas is going to have to start showing up, or because now they aren't being discriminated against and prevented from acquiring these skills. Now, unfortunately, half of them waste them because they go to college and then end up having babies and never using their education. All right. Anyway, in science, in a desperate bid to retrieve, I don't know, it says retrieve his drowning rat of a unification theory. So again, the unification theory was never dependent on this kinetic energy argument. So ironically, it really isn't in any way dependent on this. This is just what I found while I was doing all the other investigating of physics and some of its incredible statements. I've stumbled upon this like grotesque error that is so obvious. This is a plus or minus reassignment error. It's really so stupid and so unconnected to evidence that it just shows how physics doesn't have much credibility. They'll believe anything. Literally anything can be their truth because they don't do any scrutiny at all. They don't require evidence. All right, every video Gary makes is just him trying to give the kiss of life to a dead rat. So whatever that means. But there's absolutely no counter argument provided about any of the physical truths about gravity or anything else that I've argued that any brozo has presented any evidence or theoretical arguments debunking me in any way. All right. So again, no comment there. So he does this much comment, no comment to the actual subject of the comment posted, which was to in some way affirm that somehow Brozo's experiment is consistent with kinetic energy being validated, when the experiment clearly doesn't validate the kinetic energy theory. All right. This John Walker says, imagine the life his father must have lived. Now, I don't know why he would want to bring that up. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I can't really imagine that any of you people had any kind of role model of any kind. That wasn't a scumbag, a thief, a crook, a bum, a wife beater, because you're just such pieces of shit. But my father was essentially a NASA engineer. I mean, and was essentially, Mr. Integrity. I mean, he didn't speed, didn't drink, didn't do anything, okay, besides be an engineer and, somebody who could, maintain a house and, never hit my mother, never even, I can't even say my father ever raised his voice. My mother did. But I can't even say my father, even in an argument, ever even raised his voice much. So again, you want to bring up my father, I'm just going to say he's kind of a perfect man. So, you're not going to get very far that way. So whatever. It's just too stupid a thing to reference. His physics teacher was probably sick the rest of the year. So again, they all think you have to be taught. Now, clearly in the 10 years I've demonstrated that I have gone out and researched all of this stuff on the internet. That I did have mechanical knowledge before I got here. I mean, I did have, I used a sextant and different, civil engineering, different things. I actually made robotic machines, back in the 70s. I mean, this is a long time ago. All right, so I was sort of on the cutting edge of the technology, lasers, all that kind of stuff, and had familiarity with all of that and machining parts and all of that crap. So I had a history. You want to deny my history? That's your prerogative. But pretending this has something to do with whatever, the how many hours of study that was in a physics class in high school, frankly, what I learned in the real world is about 99.99% more dense, okay, than what I learned in that class. But I can still remember the concepts from that class. But anyway, what's the point of this nonsense? You're going to claim I'm ignorant? Well, then prove it. Prove it by showing, these grotesque, horrible errors. So I did a lever video. Explain how I diagrammed the lever incorrectly. I did the perpetual energy machine that is created by your theory. Explain how that machine won't work by your theory. Explain where your theory explains where it doesn't work, where it fails. Can you do that? No, you can't do that, because that would require you to have some kind of dignity and honor and self-respect, and you have none of those things. You're just a crook, a thief. You're a mud-slinging pile of shit. You're a gutless coward. You make no content. You make no contribution. You put nothing up, okay, and just do your, I'm going to drive by and throw a rock through your window. You're just a petty criminal. All right, after trying to teach physics to DH, so I don't know who DH is, but who cares? Oh, okay, he's talking about the physics teacher. Yeah, he was a putz, a little nerdy bow tie guy, okay? We didn't get along very well. But again, their argument isn't have anything to do with the content in the videos. They won't play the content in the videos, especially the newer videos, and actually explain where I'm saying something that can't be demonstrated to be credible and consistent with evidence. So go ahead. I mean, I just did that history video. Show where I cheated that history somewhere, where what I said wasn't true. Okay, Goofy still doesn't understand that it is inside his blob of clay where all the wrong wiring sits. So what use is this mush of a comment? Oh yeah, and he hearted it. So he hearted this crap by this jackass. So the jackass who completely misunderstands Steven's own video, and he hearts these garbage comments by this moron who can't even accurately describe Steve's own video. I mean, and that shows Steve has credibility. No, it shows he's just a mud thrower and a rock thrower, and that's all he's got too. That would be a challenge too far. It would be easier to nail Mercury to a wall. So just all this little metaphorical talk about how, again, yes, it would be impossible to create a stink greater than yours. There's no mixing of any chemicals that could be worse than the mixture of the brozo, and he doesn't realize. Okay, oh yes, the blob of clay he described as the size of a golf ball. Yeah, that's the one on Professor Lewin's cart. It's clearly visible. Now, if you want to argue it's not a golf ball, what are you going to argue its size would be? Assuming that it's on both sides of the cart, right? We can't see the other side, but yes, usually you balance the cart, so you don't put something on one side that you don't do to the other side. What would you estimate it to be? Idiot. So this is where he mixes subjects. It's just so irrational. So Brozo could have used boogers. He could have used any little blob of stuff. He could have put some of his dinner on the piece of paper and had the cart hit the little piece of dinner and move it a little bit. So he could have used anything. He just happened to use a piece of clay. This has nothing to do with other conversations about clay. The clay on Professor Lewin's cart has nothing to do with the clay that de Châtelet used to catch falling objects. These references are not interconnected, retard. Okay, what kind of golf ball is that then? Golf for mice. So see, I mean, what a lie this is. I didn't say anything about that tiny piece of clay in Brozo's video being any problem at all. I even said in the video it's a perfectly reasonable way to measure how far the cart goes. So it's a complete lie again. Sounds about right, actually. So what sense does this crap make? He's comparing the clay on Professor Lewin's cart with the little tiny piece of clay Brozo used to see how far the cart moves. And he's saying those are the same references. I mean, fuck. And this is Brozo doing it. I mean, this is Brozo's comment, so it's just, I mean, amazing. What the fuck? How fucking weird and crazy are you? Where did I say any of this, you idiot? Oh, you didn't watch the video. That's right. So he didn't watch my video. So he thinks I said the little piece of clay he used in this experiment was the size of a golf ball because the shithead told him so. The liar told him so. I guess that's what happened. But it's just idiotic. It never happened, brozo, you fucking moron. You lying cunt. Excuse me. But disgusting. Alright, I was thinking my mouse has this optical thingy that may be used for as a frictionless speed and acceleration measuring device. It's an optical mouse, yeah, but why wouldn't you just use a trigger where you just block the light? Why do you need the mouse to travel with it? It's completely unnecessary. You could just put the mouse sideways and use the light from the mouse to, I mean, it's just too stupid. Anyway, on the bottom of carts and could possibly trigger you creative mind, Steve. So this is the John Walker guy. I mean, it's not that it's too silly, but why would you go to all that extra work when you can do it much simpler than that? Maybe one of the Adreno nerds knows how to create a tiny wireless position pill for your kind of experiment. And the fact is the mouse probably, optical mice probably can't register what goes on at the speed necessary to capture the motion of an object. We move mice, relatively slowly. I need one of them on the team. Well, whatever. Just complete shit. I probably should see what else he said. But whatever. Let's just update and see if there's any new bullshit here. And then we'll be done. We're just doing this one little string. I just wanted to point out that Steve has no interest in correcting the liars. He has no interest in this having anything to do with... Look, it says free energy nut debunked. I'm not a free energy nut. I'm exactly the opposite. So he's lying right in the title of the video. So what should my counter lie be? And if that's all he's got is lies. And clearly I wasn't debunked because the experiment basically validated exactly my prediction. So it's just too silly. Really, too silly. All right. So I really just have to quit reacting. Just the liars will be the liars, and nothing you can do about them right now. So it looks like the same 9 comments. Okay, so that's it. All right, so enough. What did he pin here? Oh, the Mickey Farley comment. Yeah, I read that in another video where I don't think Mickey really wants to be associated with such a stupid experiment, so that's why he deleted his comment. And Brozo put it back. Hilarious. All right. So anyway, enough of a video. I shouldn't have bothered, but it's hard not to react to when you're being lied about, and so they're just such stupid lies. They're not even like where there could be a margin somewhere of some sort of all right, I have to concede I am a little this or I am a little that or something. It's not even close. Ugh, just too stupid. Alright, so we can get rid of that and say goodnight, Gracie, and such. So anyway, so till the next time and such, this has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Till the next time and such.